Wolloch is 11-3 with white-blue heroic. And we'll see if he can get the job done here against Vidianto Wijaya.
And the way that pairings work here in the last round of Swiss is typically 1 plays against 2, 3 plays against 4, and so on down the line, which means that Sam here at X and 3 has the worst tiebreakers of any X3 left in the tournament.
Yep. Feels like it's a pretty good matchup for Abzan. You know, I initially thought it was really good for White Blue Heroic, but I've seen Abzan beat it enough times that I believe that Abzan is okay against this deck, especially because they have so much more removal now.
Well, the addition of end hostilities in the main deck helps out a lot. When you're not leaning exclusively on heroes downfall type effects, when you have something that ignores all prevention effects and, you know, prevent damage, protection from color effects, that's very helpful. 2 main deck copies of Ugin as well. I'm not saying Ugin is great for the matchup because it's so expensive, but if you are going to play something that expensive, it at least wins the game for sure, as opposed to something like Elspeth's Son's Champion, which is also expensive but no guarantee to win the game.
Vidi going to very quickly take a mulligan here. Wolloch looks like he's giving him the thumbs up. Looks like he's happy to keep, so see if Vidi can find a better hand here. A little bit different take as far as Abzan midrange is concerned for Wijaya this weekend. 3 main deck copies of Satyr Wayfinder, no Sylvan Caryatids. That's just become commonplace at this point.
Yeah, it is the new list. At this point, it's surprising when we see Caryatids in these lists.
Yeah, it really, really is. And of course, 4 Siege Rhinos, 4 Coursers, and the Singleton Tasker is starting to become the industry standard as well.
It's really powerful as a one-of, and sort of just powerful in general. So I can see these decks going up to a second copy, in fact.
So Wijaya will take a look at 6 cards in just a moment, see if he can find a better hand to work with. Only 25 lands in this deck because of the Wayfinders. Kind of acts as a land in a weird roundabout way, though I feel like most of the time when Abzan mid-range decks we see 26 lands.
It's not intuitive, but I don't actually like Satyr Wayfinder that much alongside Tassiger, just because your graveyard gets full with a lot of junk. I know Tassiger gives you some control over it, but having a low-impact card in your graveyard to begin with is not great when the Wayfinder dies.
And it will die.
And it will die. But Vidianto also playing with 2 copies of Murderer's Cut in his main deck, so he's in the market for just a lot of graveyard flipping over and a lot of delving in general.
Taking a long look at these 6. He's going to keep it. We're underway here. Game number 1 of round 15. Looks like they're waiting for the green light. We'll be giving it to him. Now there's a Temple of Melody. Top card is going to the bottom. We'll go back Wolloch's way. It's an island for his first draw step. Plains will come into play. That means a favorite Hoplite will as well. And we'll go back Wijaya's way. Siege Rhino the draw. There's a Thoughtseize. Get an idea of what Wolloch's working with here. See a Defiant Strike, a God's Willing, a Seeker of the Way, Hero of Iroas, an Island, and a Manic Influence.
Most likely God's Willing is the call here. I suppose it's possible Defiant Strike is the play here from BD's side, but I don't think you can take either of the creatures.
I think God's Willing is the most annoying card here. I'd want to let that one go, and I agree with you. The creatures can stay.
If Vidianto's hand is all creatures, then it makes taking the Defiant Strike a bit more attractive.
Well, he'll go with the Hero of Iroas. Just pass the turn back. So I can see why he's done this, because he has no lands.
Sure. His hand's so bad right now that he can't afford Sam to go creature.
There's Defiant Strike. That'll trigger a Rogue, of course, and draw a card. Hero of Iroas to draw. Here's an attack for 3.
I think that if I was in Sam's spot, I would have preferred to just cast a creature on the second turn, because you do have God's Willing in hand, so there's no way for both of your creatures to die, and then you get to untap with God's Willing at the ready. It's a little bit more of a mana-efficient turn.
Land number 3 is an island. And there's an Ordeal. That, of course, will trigger. And there's another trigger on the attack. 10 life coming. And 4 damage going through. So Wijaya already down to 11.
And he knows about the God's Willing too. So this is going to be really tough, even if VD just draws nothing but lands for the rest of the game.
Seder Wayfinder was the first draw step. He'll pick up his temple, and he says, let's move on to the next game. So Sam Wolloch very quickly winning game number 1 here over Vidianto Wijaya. White Blue Heroic up a game over Abzan mid-range, which means we can go to the sideboards here. We'll start with Wijaya since he knows exactly what he's up against.
And in hostilities, 2 copies of Glare of Heresy, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Read the Bones, a Liliana Vest, a Garrick Apex Predator, an Utter End, 2 Rakshasa Death Dealer, 2 Drown in Sorrow, 1 Tassiger. So the cards I absolutely love in this matchup are the copy of End Hostility and the 2 copies of Glare of Heresy. Past that, you get some less attractive options that still might be fine. The additional copies of Thoughtseize, the Utter End, and the 2 copies of Drown in Sorrow. They're kind of hit or miss, but VD may want to bring them in. He doesn't really have that much in the way of dead weight in his deck. His main deck's solid for this matchup, so I think we're probably only going to see the really solid cards in Hostilities and Glare of Heresy.
2 Valorous Stance, excuse me. A Laguna Band Trailblazer, an Erase, an Ordeal of Heliod, 2 Glare of Heresy, a Triton Tactics, 2 Dig Through Time, 2 Stubborn Island, and 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke. Seems like the counter magic are the best cards here as usual.
Counter spells are great, Valorous Stance is great. The fact that you now have access to Valorous Stance in this deck means that you no longer have to bring in Glare of Heresy just for the Rhino, which is a little bit narrow. You can now bring that card in, which helps protect your creatures, kill Siege Rhino, kills Corsair Crewfix. Just a lot better for that role. White Blue Heroic used to bring in Glare of Heresy a lot in that spot, and it had moments of being good. It also had moments of being dead. Very hard for Valorous Stance to be dead.
Well, game number 2 can be underway here in just a moment. We'll talk about SCG Game Night. February is almost over. Next week, oddly enough, means an opportunity to get this wolf and its tokens. Not a lot left.
Yeah, if you're interested in getting these pins and tokens, just head over to the closest store that's running SCG Game Night, which can happen any day of the week. Store's discretion, sanctioned, unsanctioned, whatever format they want, just to get players in the store for some fun and friendly magic. It is too late to get signed up for March, but if you're looking to get signed up for the April kit, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games organized play representative.
We'll have new stuff for you guys in March. That'll be right around the corner next week. Still, my prediction is the rat token.
The rat token.
Yes.
Makes sense. But I've been surprised here before.
And then we'll get who knows what in the spring. It's going to be springtime soon. That's terrifying.
In San Diego, it's always spring.
Yeah, okay. All right, guy.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's actually been
nice
the toughest
weather.
thing. I lose track of time all the time because there's no seasons to ground you in anything.
See, that's why I couldn't live there. I need seasons. I actually like seasons.
No, I do too. It's one of the biggest costs for me living in San Diego, for sure.
I like when it becomes springtime. It was nicer outside. I'm wearing shorts too early in the year, so I get sick. I like that. And then it becomes summer, and then fall. Instead, you just have 70-degree weather all year.
And here's the thing. I still romanticize about all the stuff that you just described, but I was back in New Jersey for the holidays during the winter, and it sucks, man. You know? Like, let's be honest. It's not great. I used to really like it a lot, or at least I thought I used to like it. I don't know how much of it. Am I soft now that I live in Southern California? Have I gotten acclimated to the weather? Was I always just kind of thinking about how much I miss New Jersey in general sense and filled in the blanks in my own head, glossed over the things I don't like? I don't know, but man, it's not great.
This feels like a New Jersey heel turn right now.
It's not a heel turn. I still love it. I'm just saying. I was back there. It was cold. It was hard to do things because it's cold. People don't leave their house. Businesses shut down. The roads are dangerous.
I was unable to make it back to Ohio for the holidays this year, but I'm going back for the Grand Prix in a couple weeks to see the parental units, and I imagine it'll be cold there too.
Yes.
I know it's super cold in Ohio right now. It's like 1 degree a couple days ago, so.
It's not good, man.
And I'm super soft now. It's embarrassing. My dad would make fun of me.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So and the worst part is if I go home and there's snow, I have to do chores. There's no getting out of this.
Right.
So immediately.
Your parents at the age now where when there's things wrong with the outside, they kind of need you to kick in.
Well, that's been like that since day one.
Sure.
So nothing has really changed. They were more forceful before. Now I have to go home and shuffle the driveway almost assuredly. And that's not a bad task, I think, when you're like 12 to 16 and it's like, I don't want to be inside anyway. I just want to listen to music and go do something. So sure, I'll go shovel the driveway. But now I'm old. I don't want to shovel. I'll probably hurt my back.
Yeah. It's bad times for the whole family.
Yeah, it's just not a good idea. I mowed the lawn the last time I was home. I thought that would be fun. Just dead wrong.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I used to love mowing the lawn because I had to do it twice a week.
It's not fun.
Windswept Teeth is how Wijaya starts saying. Temple of Enlightenment here for Wolloch. He'll leave it on top, pass it back. Vidi going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth. A forest or a plains coming here in just a moment. He'll get a forest. So it looks like Vidi has a much better hand this go around.
Well, probably a second land. So already
Important.
out to a better start.
This isn't the first time we've seen him have land troubles too, when we've watched him this weekend. Because I feel like he's just light one land in his deck. It feels like a 26 land deck.
He's cheating a little bit. I think he would argue that the Sacred Wayfinder should clean that up a little bit, but they aren't necessarily the most reliable thing. You saw last game, Vidi drew a Sacred Wayfinder the turn he conceded in lieu of a land.
Sacred Wayfinder's going to turn over a couple cards here. Sandstep Citadel, Land of War Waste, Courser of Crewfix, and a Glare of Heresy. He'll take a look at his hand, figure out what he wants to take, and he'll go with the Waste before passing the turn. We'll go Wolloch's way. Wolloch will draw cards, copy Battlewise Hoplite.
I think this is a pretty good spot for Sam to cast a creature with no protection. With Vidi on Plains and Forest, he would really need exactly Urborg into Downfall to punish Sam for this play.
Well, he has Urborg.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Much as he has the Downfall. But if he has Urborg plus Downfall, it wouldn't surprise me if he let off with these lands to try to set the trap.
We'll play a Wayfinder. There's a Bile Blight, Land of War Waste, Windswept Heath, and Hostilities. So he'll take a Windswept Heath. Rest will go to the graveyard. And there's your Urborg. I have a feeling here comes your Thoughtseize, perhaps your Murderous Cut. It'll be a cut. This works too.
Great turn for Vidi.
Yep.
And if he's able to get Sam to put the shields down on a God's Willing style effect that turn, that is great.
And now an attack for 1.
So this is a pretty good demonstration of how Wayfinder can be good in the deck. This is a great start.
Wolloch will draw. Copy of God's Willing. And there's land number 3. He'll sacrifice the Flooded Strand. Go down 18, will Sam. We'll see if he wants an island or a plains here. He'll go with the plains. I think he has one more threat to play. I believe he has a Hero Heroes in his hand, but the rest of his hand is reactive stuff.
Well, he does have a God's Willing and some enchantments, so things start getting good for him next turn if he can untap.
There's the hero. Pass that turn back over to Wijaya. Wijaya will draw. Looks like a copy of Bile Blight.
You can land heavy hand at this stage. Siege Rhino Elspeth.
Those ones might be good enough.
Yeah, I think Sam can do a lot of damage if he gets to untap.
There's a Windswept Teeth. Now there's a Siege Rhino. Doesn't have to sacrifice the fetch land, of course, thanks to Urborg. So the Rhino will come into play. A little drain, a little gain, and a passing of the turn. Defiant Strike. That'll turn the hero into a 3/3. Sam will get the cantrip, of course, picked up a copy of Manic Influence. He'll take a draw for the turn. That's a Temple of Enlightenment. Ordeal of Thassa in hand, among other options. Also a copy of Stubborn Nile.
So he can definitely get the ordeal to fire off this turn. I'd be surprised if he didn't make that move. Where he goes from there, I think, is tied up in when he draws off the ordeal, but it seems like a great spot with VD tapped out to stick it.
He's thinking it through. There's your Manic Influence. There's your ordeal. Trigger Heroic, of course, makes it into a 4/4. Attack step, going to make it into a 5/5, and that, of course, will crack the ordeal.
I was wondering there, was he contemplating the attack there because he's worried about VD putting together a double block or a triple block? And if Sam's waiting that long, does it make it more attractive for VD to say, I think he actually might not have something to play over the top here, put all my creatures in front. It's a really risky block, especially with Sam on 15. VD can just stay the course and keep attacking.
Mm-hmm. Vidi decides I'll just show the chump block.
That's fine too.
Yeah. Get some use out of these wayfinders. And he'll pass the turn back. We're going to go back Wijaya's way. He'll draw a card. You mentioned his hand is a little land heavy. Looks like Abzan Charmaine in the draw. There's a temple. Time to scry. Top card goes to the bottom. The Rhino's coming in. Wolloch will go down to 11. And just a passing of the turn. Island the draw here for Sam. And he'll start by playing just that.
And I suspect VD is trying to set up the, play multiple removal spells over the course of your turn and my turn to try to overwhelm your protection effect. But I think Sam's pretty well situated at this point. Stubborn Denial, God's Willing. He's got a lot of protection for this.
There's Ordeal of Thassa yet again. Has turned the hero into a 6/6. Attack step, in it comes. Trigger. 2 cards coming. God's Willing among them. Here is a copy of God's Willing. Going to use this one aggressively. Try to force through some damage.
This is very aggressive. This I think will prompt a response from VD.
I think so.
But your opponent only does this if they have an extremely strong hand. Because Sam knows VD's probably got some sort of downfall, utter end style effect. So if Sam's willing to do this, it's because he's trying to kill you very quickly and has a stocked hand.
Now, VD's lined up some mana here to cast a copy of Abzan Charm. The question is, how does he want to use Abzan Charm? It's very easy to say. In response, I will, of course, use the exile mode to kill your creature, but it wouldn't surprise you at all if Sam has another spell. So then you have to decide, maybe I want to use Abzan Charm on my Siege Runner to make it bigger.
And just go into a pure damage race?
Yeah, per beatdowns. 6-power Trampler against this deck's pretty good.
Yep. VD does have to respect the possibility of Glare of Heresy and Valorous stance, so I don't know if he wants to just move all in on a Siege Rhino. But you're right, it's not 100% clear that the Abzan Charm is supposed to go at the hero here, but I believe VD is correct in doing so.
There's Stubborn Denial. And what this has just done is this has opened the door here for Elspeth.
Yep.
Because God's Willing does not protect around that. Looks like maybe a Defiant Strike here as well, yes. Forcing through a whole bunch of damage. Favorite hoplite to draw.
You are right. The door is open.
Yep. This looks like 10 points of damage comes across.
It's a very aggressive use of God's Willing on that turn. It only makes sense if your plan is, I'm never going to allow VD to chump block with that Cedar Wayfinder. If you're going to do it that turn, you have to follow up with some other line of play the next turn to give your creature flying or another protection effect. But if VD gets a chump block at some point with the Cedar Wayfinder, then that line of play was pretty disastrous from Sam.
Yeah, because by aggressively using God's Willing there, you're basically announcing I'm going to kill you in 2 turns.
Yep.
That's what you're basically saying.
Well, you've also fired off a God's Willing for very little productivity if the Cedar Wayfinder gets a block at some point.
Winslow Teeth in search of a plains. That's the second white mana necessary for the Sun's champion. This is an Elspeth. That's in there. Now I think if I'm VD in this spot, if my opponent's aggressively using God's Willing, then it leads me to believe he probably has another one.
Yeah.
So I want to make this attack and then minus. And yes, I'm going to lose my Siege Rhino, and that sucks and everything, but I got an Elspeth, so.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to rebuild. I mean, Sam has to spend a turn rebuilding himself. And then you get to start cranking out 3 tokens a turn, get a lot of blocking in.
Fate of Resistance to draw. Start with a Temple. Top card to the bottom. Follow up, favorite hot play. Time for another one. This one's battle-wise. Cards left here for Wolloch. God's Willing, Fate of Resistance in a land. Wijaya will untap with an active Elspeth. He'll draw. Copy of Cedar Wayfinder here. Also has a copy of Courser of Crewfix in hand.
Bioblight as well.
Looks like he has some interest in leading off with the Courser. Get some more information. So now it's time to take a look at the top card, a copy of Hero's Downfall. Elspeth will take up. There are your 3 soldier tokens. Important here for Wijaya that he has different colored permanents in play, some white and some green.
It's a really nice spread of white blockers, green blockers, and the possibility for black removal.
Yep.
Means that Sam needs to have a ton of protection effects to get through all of this.
NVIDIA's life total is just high enough that he doesn't have to worry too much, it seems. Looks like a Johnny's Presence may have been the draw for the turn.
Little late. Would have been a big help on the Elspeth turn.
Indeed. Plains will come into play. Wolloch wants to take a look at the Elspeth briefly. And I think he's got an idea of what that card does.
Or with Sam at 6, BD does not need a lot of time.
And VD doesn't want to give him a lot of time either.
And I just don't know if there's a good attack to be made here.
Interesting. Just going to pass the turn back. I'm with you. I don't think there's a good attack here. The draw is Hero's Downfall. Top card is Tassiger. Looks like VD might be gearing up for an attack here.
I'm fine with attacking with everything, I think, except the Wayfinder, as then you get to plus Elspeth, and then you're back in the same spot that you were in last turn with a white creature back, a green creature back, and black spells in your hand.
3 more soldiers as Elspeth will tick up to 3. and just pass the turn. So these players will stare at each other for a little bit, but one of them has an Elspeth and one of them doesn't.
Well, next turn it's a lethal attack, the way the board is set up right now. And if Sam tries to commit more creatures to the table, Vidi may use some removal spells to try to clear it out of the way. Or he may just simply say, plus Elspeth again, go, put you in the same spot.
Because nothing that's happening on Sam's side of the table right now is forcing Vidi to make any action.
Exactly. And it's not like White Blue Heroic plays well through this kind of situation. So Vidi can just untap, point at Elspeth again, send it back, and repeat until his board is so overwhelming that there's not a lot for Sam to do.
There's Battle Wise Hoplite number 2. And here's a Bioblight. Gonna go after old Battle Wise. Sam gonna have to use one of those protection spells here. Just trying to figure out which one. He's got God's Willing and Feet of Resistance. A Giant's Presence in hand, too.
Yep.
He'll go with God's Willing, which will trigger Scry there on Battlewise Hoplite thanks to the Heroic. And also get a Scry from God's Willing, too. Here's a Hero's Downfall. I like this initiation here by Vidi. Make you have it all, basically.
Yep.
There's Feet of Resistance. So Feet's going to resolve. There's the Scry on Battlewise Hoplite thanks to Heroic. Now, the Hero trigger from God's Willing resolves. And now the Scry from God's Willing resolves.
And Vidi is thrilled to have these cards being used by Sam defensively instead of proactively.
Yep. It's a dream come true. Maybe he'll draw a card. Top card, Temple of Silence. Gonna use Elspeth to minus here to kill the Battlewise Hoplite to make attacking easier. But a Giant's Presence is gonna slow that down. But yet again, a defensive use of that card.
Yep. Vidi going for the kill this turn, but even if Sam survives, all the resources are drained.
Yep. Temple will come in. Take a look at the top card. It's a Thought Seize. Doesn't need that one. So the next card is a Siege Rhino. That's pretty neat. That makes things very easy. Vidi gonna take a look at his graveyard since he has Tasker in hand. Figure out how he wants to cast this thing.
It's a lot of precision here. I don't know if he wants to activate it this turn because just drawing Siege Rhino should be good enough to win the game.
I think so too. So I'm gonna reverse engineer some good delves here. Always a weird thing to do.
Yep.
So there go 5 cards. Hero's Downfall, Siege Rhino, Abzan Charm, Murderer's Cut. Some real nice ones left in there for the Golden Fang. Now we had Wolloch's way. Wolloch, no card in hand. We'll take a mystery draw. And with a army full of creatures on the table and a Siege Rhino staring him down, don't know how many more turns he's going to get to play this game.
Unless you do something big, it's this one. This is the last one.
Taking a look at the graveyard here. Glare of Heresy, Bioblight, some other cards that are down there. Oh, there's a Hero of Heroes. Defeating, no interest in activating. Would rather draw a Siege Rhino. Attack with everybody. You can block 4 of my creatures. At least 3 damage will come through. And then a Siege Rhino will get the job done. And there is the Siege Rhino. All right, we'll play a third one here between Wolloch and Wijaya in just a moment.
And I think the very aggressive use of God's Willing there may have killed Sam.
I think so.
In that game.
I think so. That and the use of stubborn denial.
That's one of those spots where it's, some of your tricks are good against certain things and other tricks are good against other things. I think that I would prefer to keep Stubborn Denial in the hand because it's protection against Elspeth and Hostilities, probably the most likely cards for VD to have there to blow you out. But I think that Sam was going to be unlikely to prevent the Wayfinder from being able to chump block at some point unless VD's hand had nothing going on. And that's kind of how it played out. The God's Willing got fired off for not very much value, and that was really the difference.
That's all it took. And that's why we're heading to a third game here between these two players. I was on mid-range and White Blue Heroic. They're tied up. You think anything changes in sideboarding?
From BD's side, I think Drowned in Sorrow is a much different card. I think it's an acceptable card to have on the play, not good on the draw. So to me, that's the big one.
All right, well, Sam will be on the play here. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games Winter Collection. We've got turtles and mammoths, wolves and rats, dude.
Yeah, the whole squad here, the mammoth, the rat, the wolf, and the turtle witness, all available on card sleeves, play mats, and dice bags. Head over to starcitygames.com/creature collection to order your items today, or just head over to the dealer booth at any Open or Grand Prix we're at.
Spring Collection will be here soon.
Yep.
I'm lobbying for a beaver, or excuse me, groundhog.
Groundhog. Groundhog is a brilliant suggestion.
We can do both though, right? Beaver and groundhog?
I know the riffraff from Twitter has been hit or miss today, but whoever suggested the groundhog, very good job.
That was really good work.
It's a good job.
I think maybe so there's got to be some sort of spring bird chirping as the plants bloom. There's some sort of bird that's got to be like a spring bird. I don't know what it is, but yeah, robin.
Robin's pretty good.
Great. That's two. Need two more. What do you bring to the table? Anything?
No.
Okay.
Got nothing.
Had a feeling.
My suggestions for the Creature Collection series have been so consistently rebuked that I'm not participating anymore. When we have a hippo, then we can talk. We can open up that conversation again.
Well, I think that if we do have a hippo, that's part of the summer line. Seems like more of a summertime animal.
I don't know. I don't think it's known for any particular season.
It just feels like a summer animal. I don't know why. I'm thinking, like summer line is like a hippo, a zebra, a giraffe, all the things on the African safari.
It is probably the most likely to capsize a boat full of tourists in the summer, because that's when they would be there.
That's correct.
So I suppose that counts.
Perhaps a cheetah. Garr. That's when we have that.
Not a great, purr that.
That wasn't good.
Purr
I've been
slash
working
growl.
on that.
That and the English accent. There's a lot of work left to be done.
Well, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
There's only so much time to practice purring like a cheetah and whatever it is my English accent is, which is not even close to English at this point. It's actually just really bad.
Right.
And it hasn't gotten any better. There should be a class for that, though.
Sure there is.
I would take it.
People have to act in accents all the time, so I had to imagine those classes exist.
I wonder what that class would be like. Just talk like this. Do this.
There's got to be a science to it.
All right.
I'm sure.
So you're saying there's a science to what Frank Caliendo does?
For sure, absolutely.
All right. Well, then you think more people would be able to do it then?
I mean, it's proprietary information. It's not easy to do, but are you suggesting it's like magic or voodoo or something? Like what?
That is not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all.
That's really the only alternative.
That's not really anything close to what I'm saying. I'm just saying I would be surprised if there are classes for it. That's all.
How does Frank do what he does? He's a wizard.
Yeah. Yes.
He literally can perform magic.
That's correct. He's the only one who can do that.
Right.
That is exactly what I meant.
I'm not trying to be reductive about it. It's just, it's a real thing or it's not. So that's...
now I'm just going to draw the line. Now I'm just on the camp of it not being a real thing. It is magic.
Yeah.
Fine. It is voodoo. How about that? I'm a Frank Caliendo guy. It's a little too late to buy stock there, but
right.
I'm a fan. That guy on Comedy Central who's got the puppets, though, and stuff.
I don't know who that is.
It's horrible. Jeff Dunham. Not sponsoring the Open Series, Jeff Dunham. Here's a favorite hoplite.
Anyone who's into prop comedy, probably not my kind of guy.
Here's the Temple of Silence. To Bush League for you.
Yeah.
We're losing sponsors as we go here, Patrick.
Carrot Top.
Yep.
Gallagher, assuming he's still alive.
Yep. We're going down.
Right.
Temple of Enlightenment here, a little scry action. Stubborn Denial, 2 Ordeal of Thassa's there in Wolloch's hand.
It's the weird sort of hand that needs land and it needs action.
Yeah.
So the scry is pretty tough because he almost needs to put anything on the bottom. It's a weird hand.
He's looking for the land action split card.
Right.
I wonder if there'll ever be, is that a design space? A land spell split card?
It would look way too horrible in play.
All right. That's really true.
Also, the rules are really complicated because each are played with completely different timings.
Sure. Okay. I think that's design space that's open. We can figure that. If we can make cards that flip, like werewolves, that design space is open.
It's not clear Magic's rules would support it.
You find a way, bend them.
You can rewrite the rules, it's true.
Who even cares?
I've had several conversations with rules team people very similar to who even cares.
Oh, they care.
They do care.
They probably care. Here's Llanowar Waste.
Sometimes I get a little stubborn about how the rules are currently written. And I'm like, it's not the Bill of Rights, you know? You can edit the rules, it's fine. But I do not believe Magic's rules will currently support it.
There's a stubborn denial joke in here somewhere, but I'm so far above that, not even gonna go there.
Well, not really because you made it.
So far above that joke. There's Bile-Blight. Favorite Hoplight's gonna bite the dust. Wolloch will draw. It's a copy of God's Willing. Does he have another creature to play? He does. It's a copy of Hero of Heroes. But if he wants to deploy that, he's gonna tap out to do that.
Yeah, it's the risk. And there's no guarantee he has land number 3 coming anytime in the near future.
He's gonna wait. Wijaya will draw a card. I'll have to take one to play the Seder Wayfinder.
I don't mind waiting in Sam's spot when you have a guarantee of the next turn of it being safe. But when you've got nothing going on and there's no promise you have land number 3 coming, my preference is just to cast it. I know it's a risk, but...
Siege Rhino, Abzan Char, and Temple of Malady will go to the graveyard. Temple of Malady will also enter the battlefield. That means some scry. Top card will stay on top. And a passing of the turn. Flooded Strand the draw, timely.
Well, that is land number 3. I mean, that was, Sam definitely getting rewarded now for the way that he played this sequence. If this was not land number 3, he may be just forced to cast it and hope again. But now can play it with some protection.
They'll get a Plains. So here, Hiroshi, you have to imagine, is coming down here with God's Willing protection.
Yep.
And Wijaya doesn't have enough mana, it seems, at this point, to play 2 spells in 1 turn.
You're looking at something like 2 Bile-Blights, or I guess Murderous Cut could be rolled into the sequence, but Sam can't play around everything here. And playing it with 1 protection spell is about as good as it's going to get.
Dude, Twitter has been on fire today. I gotta tell you, bees for the spring collection.
Awesome. A+.
Right?
Great idea.
Groundhog and bees.
Great idea.
We've got bunnies.
Great idea.
I could see rabbit/bunny.
Right.
This is good. This is good work.
Yep.
Good use of the hashtag. Good work by all people involved.
Right.
You'll get no credit when we steal your ideas and make them.
Right.
But again,
because people have
good
short
work.
memories, they're not watching the broadcast the whole time, so
Absolutely.
we can just assume credit for any number of things.
Delete the replays.
Right.
It's pretty easy stuff to do.
It's not even hard for us.
Here's a Glare of Heresy. Good job on that B idea, Patrick.
Thanks.
That's good work by you.
You did great with the bunnies.
Thank you. There is a God's Willing. That's a Murderous Cut. Those are the two spells that it had to be. Something like that. It had to involve Murderous Cut.
Bile Blight could have done the same thing,
Yep.
but yeah, that was the sequence that Sam was hoping to avoid. But without land number 4 in the pipeline either, he can only play around so much. So
Sansep Citadel on an attack will complete the turn there for Wijaya. And now it's back to the drawing board here for Wolloch. He's going to need a creature. He's got a Tranquil Cove, which means he gets to gain a life. But he's got no creature to play. We're heading back Wijaya's way. Blood Siege Rattle might be all that VD needs, and it looks like he actually has one in hand. He'll start by attacking with the Satyr Wayfinder. That'll bring Wolloch down to 19, and now there is a Rhinoceros. Wijaya's going to go up to 20. Wolloch down to 15. Really good draw here from VD.
yeah, this has been all the tools right here.
Even has an Abzan Charm left over. Wolloch will draw. It's an island. That's not a creature for the heroic deck. Got some good spells in hand, of course, if he can find a creature, but he doesn't have one just yet. Wijaya will sacrifice a Windswept Heath. Looks like he's on the search for a forest, but I'll go for a Plains instead. In a moment here, we'll see Wijaya take a draw step. He's going to keep those beatdowns going. Oddly enough, with Wolloch at 15, it's a 3-turn clock.
Siege Rhino is a big, big problem for White Blue Heroic.
Thoughtseize the draw, not a bad one. I'm sure VD wants to know what's going on over there. Probably has a decent idea.
It's lands and it's creature enchantments. Maybe a counter spell.
Yeah. There's your attack for 5. There's a Windswept Heath. And no need to even cast the Thoughtseize.
Oh, I like that play a lot. I think VD is better served to cast the Thoughtseize once there's a creature in play. See what's going on, see if the coast is clear to remove things.
We'll sacrifice another Windswept Heath, get a land out of his deck. Perhaps we see the Thoughtseize this coming turn.
I think so.
Some people chiming in on the split card discussion. A land spell split make Thoughtseize a little hairy.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, if it's a land, if it's a split card and a land and a spell, if you get Thoughtseize, can they take it? I think they can take it, right?
I don't know exactly what Thoughtseize's template is. Does it say non-land?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, the card's a land.
So you just can't take it then. It's too
Guessing.
bad. Here's the Thoughtseize right now. We're going to have a response here from Sam in some capacity. That's for sure.
I know that putting activated powers on cards, one which is a mana ability and one which is not, is already hard in the rules. So I can't fathom the land spell split card as something they can handle.
Feat of Resistance. In response to the Thoughtseize.
I'm sure if he does not care about this,
Probably not very much.
he doesn't have to attack this turn if he doesn't want to. On top of that, now this creature is eligible to kill by Abzan Charm next turn.
Yep.
And VD gets to strip out whatever he has left to protect this creature.
There's the hand. 2 copies of Ordeal of Thassa and a Stubborn Denial.
I mean, there's a lot of room for max greed on VD's side here.
So you want to take a Stubborn Denial, or you want to take an Ordeal of Thassa, don't you?
And just max greed him?
Yeah. He casts Ordeal, and then you try to...
You just get him?
Yeah.
It's really dangerous if he draws something like Defiant Strike. So this is a much safer play.
Yeah.
But hard for me to turn down the opportunity to just get him.
See, it just kind of shows who you are.
I got priorities in a different place, man.
Teach them a real good lesson. Here's an attack with both creatures. VD looking to force through 4 points of damage here. Doesn't mind if the Satyr Wayfinder bites the dust. Siege Rhino will get blocked. Don't we get to trample over for a little bit of damage? Actually, excuse me. No,
0, yeah.
Yeah, no, 0, excuse me.
Absorbs it all.
pass the turn, maybe an upkeep Obson Charm, we'll see. Yep. Because he knows the coast is clear, thanks to the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, Vidi not trying to get too fancy here.
Battlewise Hop played a good draw.
Yeah, this is the risk of the line of play that Vidi took is if Sam draws a creature this exact turn, he's got a little bit of game left.
Yep. Because now he can play Battlewise and he can cast Ordeal of Thassa.
I think he needs to cast this turn because his mana is going to be tied up the next turn. He's going to be drawing a bunch of cards if things go the right way for him.
And in order for him to win the game, things have to go the right way for him. So I think he has to take the opportunity now to deploy one of these.
Exactly. You're not beating any more spells from Vidi, or not any more good spells at least. So assume that his hand is lands and play accordingly. If you assume Vidi's hand is just a bunch of lands or something else that doesn't matter, you are really well served putting Ordeal of Thassa on your creature this turn.
I'm just going to pass the turn back.
On top of that, it's possible Vidi has Drowned in Sorrow.
Elspeth the draw. Here come the beatdowns. Five damage is going to come through. Wolloch going to go down to 4. It's time for the Sun's champion. 3 soldiers will accompany it. And Wolloch will get what looks like maybe one more turn. 2 Ordeal of Thassas in hand. Looks like he picked up another copy of Battlewise Hoplite.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of mana left over after casting his 2 Ordeals. It's trivial for Vidi to chump block, and then Sam has to do a ton with just a mana left over.
Well, Hero of Eros was actually the draw, which means that these Ordeals are super cheap.
Well, it's still 4 mana one way or the other. He gets a 2/2 for his trouble this way, but he's still in about the same spot.
Yep. So a little scry action here from the Battlewise Hoplite, the heroic trigger. Looks like he's going to leave that on top. Another one, which means Hoplite again triggers. If he left it on top the first time, you have to imagine he will again. Unfortunately here for Sam, I'm not sure how great an attack is. I mean, he does get to draw 4 cards, which is certainly nice.
Well, he can't win by blocking. So,
yep, that's true.
Attack, see what happens.
Stubborn Denial, Johnny's presence among the cards that have been drawn here. This is kind of why you see Temur Battle Mage kind of included in these heroic decks now by Joe Lissette and company. It's just because it's a way for you to catch up and steal a game.
Especially in spots like this where someone's generating a lot of tokens. We see it a lot with Raise the Alarm, Whirling Outburst, Elspeth Sun's Champion. When you get into spots like this, you need a lot of protection effects to play over the top, and Temur Battle Rage allows you to cheat all of that.
And as you said, the chances of Vidi blocking here seem slim to none.
He doesn't have to. Not with that amount of mana up.
We'll go back with Wijaya's way. He's going to quickly untap and take a draw step. Caves of Koilos. Everybody's coming in. Vidi says, my hand's pretty good.
He's also saying, well, you need a second blocker or a kill spell.
Yeah.
Or a way to get lifelink or something, but.
There's Defiant Strike. Trigger. Draw. Plains. Siege Rhino still tramples all day long.
Also 4 points of unblocked damage coming through.
Yep, and that's going to do it. Vidianto Wijaya is going to win this match here over Sam Wolloch. 2-1. Obzon midrange will take care of White Blue Heroic, and if things break heavily in VD's favor, he'll be in the elimination rounds this evening.
He's 14th place coming to the round. We just saw him pass one person in front of him.
Yep.
We just need to see how things pan out. I think the most likely scenario is VD's in the top 16, but not in the top 8, but we'll see when we see.